A thick cloud of dust rose as the black pickup truck rolled into the small town, tires crunching over gravel. It sputtered twice before stopping in front of the only garage in sight. The engine let out a soft whine before falling silent. The man behind the wheel, dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark jeans, stepped out and looked around. He tapped his watch impatiently, then scanned the quiet street. There were no workers, no sounds of tools, no sign of movement from the garage. Just then, he noticed a young girl sitting cross-legged near the entrance, elbows deep in a pile of tools. She was wearing a faded blue jumpsuit, her hair tied back with an old shoelace. Her face and hands were covered in grease, but her eyes were sharp and focused as she cleaned a small engine part with care. He walked closer, unsure if anyone else was around. "Hey kid, is your dad here? My truck broke down." Without looking up, she replied, "He stepped out for lunch. Should be back soon." The man sighed. "Figures. Do you know anything about engines?" Now she looked up. "A little." He raised an eyebrow. "Think you can take a look? It just died on me out of nowhere." She stood, wiped her hands on a cloth, and walked confidently toward the truck. He followed her, more curious than hopeful. She popped the hood and leaned in, her small hands moving quickly. After a few seconds, she pointed. "Your fuel line's loose. It's not feeding enough into the engine." He blinked. "You sure?" "We're pretty sure," she said, tightening a bolt with a rusty wrench. He got in the driver's seat and turned the key. The truck rumbled, then roared to life. He stepped out again, eyes wide. "You really did it." She gave a half smile and shrugged. "It's basic stuff." He looked at her again. "How old are you?" 8. His jaw tightened. "And you fix trucks?" "My dad taught me. I help him when he's busy." The man stood silently for a moment, watching her put the tools back in place. She moved like someone twice her age, focused and sure. He didn't say much, but something had changed in his expression. "Thanks," he finally said, reaching for his wallet. She waved her hand. "No need, you'll just make him mad if you pay me." He gave a short laugh, then looked back at the truck. "Well, I owe you one." She nodded and went back to cleaning her engine part. The man stepped into his truck, but before starting it, he looked back at the little girl. He didn't know it yet, but this short meeting was about to change both their lives forever. The man stood next to his truck, still surprised that an 8-year-old had just fixed what he thought was a serious engine problem. He watched her walk back to her corner near the garage entrance, pick up a rag, and calmly continue cleaning the greasy engine part like it was just another ordinary day. He stepped closer again. "What's your name?" he asked. "Eliza," she said without looking up. "I'm Logan," he replied. "You really know what you're doing." She gave a small nod. "My dad says engines talk. You just have to learn how to listen." Logan raised an eyebrow. "He sounds like a smart man." "He used to work full-time, but he got sick. Now I help out." Her tone was flat, not sad, just honest. Logan looked around. The garage was simple. A single lift, a few dusty toolboxes, some tires stacked in a corner. The paint on the walls had peeled off in places, and there was an old sign above the door that read, "Harper Auto." It was clear the place hadn't seen upgrades in years. He crouched down near Eliza. "How long have you been helping him?" "Since I was 5. At first I just handed him tools. Now I do small repairs when he's resting." Logan was silent for a moment. "That's pretty amazing." She finally looked up. "I just fix what's broken." Her voice was calm, but Logan could see something else behind her words. This wasn't just a hobby. She wasn't playing around with tools for fun. She was stepping up because life had left her no choice. "You ever think about what you want to be when you grow up?" he asked. She thought for a second. "An engineer, maybe. Or maybe build my own garage, a bigger one, with real machines." Logan smiled. "That sounds like a plan." Just then, the door behind them creaked open. An older man stepped out slowly, wiping his hands on a towel. He looked tired but kind. "Everything all right?" he asked, seeing Logan. Eliza stood up. "His truck broke down. I fixed it." Her father chuckled softly. "Of course you did." Logan shook hands with him. "She's incredible. I thought I'd be stuck here for hours." "She's got a gift," her father said, "more than I ever did." Logan nodded, eyes still on Eliza. He had come to this town to check on a property he'd bought, thinking it would be a quick stop. But something about this place, this girl, and the way she moved so confidently with machines made him pause. He had met many smart people in his life, but there was something different here, pure talent, pure drive, and he couldn't stop thinking about it. Logan didn't leave right away. He stood near the truck, leaning against the fender, watching Eliza and her father work side by side. Her father coughed now and then, each time covering his mouth with the towel. The man looked weak, but he smiled whenever Eliza handed him a tool or completed a small task on her own. After a few minutes, Logan stepped forward. "Mind if I sit for a bit?" he asked. "Not at all," the father said, pointing to an old wooden crate. Logan sat down, brushing the dust off his jeans. "So, you passing through?" the father asked. "Kind of. I bought some land a few miles out, just checking on it. Didn't expect the truck to give up so soon." The father chuckled. Old trucks have their moods. Logan looked at Eliza, who was organizing a tray of sockets. "She's really something," he said. "Yeah," the father replied with a quiet smile. "She picked it up fast. At first, I thought it was just curiosity, but then I realized she understands machines in a way most people don't." Logan nodded. "She told me she wants to be an engineer. She talks big dreams, but we haven't had much lately. Business slowed down after I got sick. We get by, but it's not easy." There was no bitterness in his voice, just honesty. Logan could see the weight behind his words. The peeling paint, the missing equipment, the silence in the garage. They all told the same story. Eliza joined them, holding a cold bottle of water she'd pulled from a small cooler. She handed it to Logan. "You looked hot," she said plainly. "Thanks," he replied, taking it with a smile. She sat next to her father, wiping her hands clean again. Logan watched them quietly for a moment. Then he spoke. "I run a tech company, mostly machines, robotics, stuff like that. I've seen a lot of talent, but never this young, and never this natural." Eliza tilted her head. "You make robots?" "Something like that," he replied. She looked interested but didn't say anything more. Her father noticed the look on Logan's face. "You thinking something?" "Maybe," Logan said slowly. "It's just, sometimes you come across people who deserve more than what life has handed them." The father nodded. "We don't want much, just enough to keep going." Logan stood, brushing off his jeans. "Well, maybe it's time someone gave a little back." He looked down at Eliza. "Thanks for fixing my truck." "You're welcome," she said. But Logan wasn't just grateful, he was inspired. He came to this town to check a piece of land. Now he was leaving with a plan. The next morning, the sun rose gently over the quiet town. The streets were still, and the garage doors at Harper Auto were only half open. Eliza was already inside, sweeping the dusty floor. Her father sat at the counter, sipping tea and checking a worn notebook filled with unpaid bills and parts lists. A black SUV pulled up outside. Eliza glanced out and froze for a moment. It was the same man from yesterday, Logan. But this time, he wasn't alone. A few people stepped out behind him, carrying small cameras and bags. Logan gave her a calm smile. "Hey, Eliza, mind if we come in?" Her father stood up, a bit confused. "Everything okay?" Logan nodded. "Yes, I just wanted to talk. I also brought a few people from my team. Hope that's all right." They stepped inside, careful not to disturb anything. One of them began setting up a small camera in the corner. Eliza watched silently, still unsure why they were here. "I told them about your daughter," Logan said, looking at her father, "and they didn't believe me. So I asked them to come and see for themselves." Eliza glanced up. "See what?" He smiled. "How an 8-year-old girl fixed my truck better than most trained mechanics." One of the team members asked Eliza if she could demonstrate a simple repair on a broken part they had brought along. Without hesitation, she picked up a few tools and got to work. They recorded her movements, amazed at how quickly she figured things out. Her hands moved with focus, her answers were clear, and she didn't stop once to second-guess herself. After a while, Logan sat down with her father. "I want to help," he said. "Not just for show. I believe Eliza has something rare. I want to sponsor her education and upgrade this garage." Her father blinked in surprise. "Sponsor? What do you mean?" "Anything she needs. School, tools, support, and I want to help you too. This place has potential. It just needs a push." Eliza looked up from her work. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you helped me without asking for anything," he said. "And because the world needs to see what real talent looks like." Her father hesitated. "We're not used to handouts." "This isn't charity," Logan said firmly. "This is investment in you, in her." The old man looked at his daughter, then back at Logan. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's give it a try." Logan smiled. The cameras stopped rolling, but the story had just begun. Outside, the sun shined brighter than it had in weeks. Inside, a quiet hope began to grow, stronger than any engine. It started with a simple shot of the dusty garage, then cut to Eliza confidently fixing a broken engine part. Her voice was calm and steady as she explained what she was doing. The video showed how quickly she worked, how she cleaned her tools, and how she handled the job like a professional. Then came the interview clips. Eliza spoke about learning from her father, helping out after he got sick, and wanting to be an engineer one day. Her father, in a short moment on camera, simply said, "She's my little genius. I just showed her the basics. The rest is all her." Logan closed the video with his message. Talent has no age, no background. Sometimes the brightest stars shine in the quietest towns. Within hours, the video started gaining views. By the end of the day, it had spread across platforms. Comments poured in from around the world. People were amazed by Eliza's skill and her quiet confidence. Many said they watched the video twice, once for the story, and once just to see her hands move. News outlets picked it up. Headlines read, "8-year-old girl fixes truck better than trained mechanics," and "Millionaire helps young genius from small town." Some channels requested interviews. Others sent messages asking how they could support her. Donations began coming in, small ones at first, $10, $20, $50. Then companies joined in. A tool company offered to sponsor her garage with new equipment. An engineering institute offered her a place in their early learning program. Even schools from abroad contacted Logan, offering scholarships and online classes for gifted students. Eliza, still the same girl in the blue jumpsuit, didn't fully understand how big it had all become. She just kept working beside her father, fixing what was broken and learning more each day. Her father was overwhelmed, but proud. He watched as new toolboxes arrived, as reporters came to visit, and as kind letters from strangers were delivered to their doorstep. For the first time in years, the garage felt alive again. Logan returned after a few days to check in. He found Eliza adjusting a bike chain while explaining the gear system to a younger boy. When she saw Logan, she waved casually. "You doing all right?" he asked. She nodded. "It's busier now." He smiled. "That's a good problem to have." She looked up at him and asked, "Did you know it would happen like this?" He shook his head. "No, I just knew the world needed to see you." And it had. Because of one honest moment, one small act of help, and one video, everything had changed. For Eliza, her family, and maybe even for a few people who watched and decided to believe in someone small and unexpected. The quiet town had changed, but the small garage at the corner still stood. The walls had been repainted, the tools were newer, and the sign above now read, "Eliza Harper Engineering." Inside, things were different too. The girl who once fixed trucks at 8 was now a young woman with sharp eyes, steady hands, and a future most could only imagine. Today, she wasn't under a hood or behind a workbench. She was standing on a large stage at a national engineering conference. Bright lights shone down, and rows of people filled the audience. Students, engineers, investors, all waiting to hear her speak. Eliza took a deep breath and looked down at her notes. But when she began, she didn't read from the paper. Her voice was calm and clear. "My name is Eliza Harper, Some of you may know me from a video that went viral when I was a child. I was 8 years old, working in my father's garage. A stranger's truck broke down, and I offered to help. That stranger turned out to be Logan Crane, a man who saw something in me before I even saw it in myself. She glanced down at the front row. Logan was sitting there, proud and smiling, just like he always had during her journey. He didn't just help me, she continued. He believed in me, and that belief changed everything. I got a chance to learn, to grow, and to build something bigger than just one garage. Today, I lead a team designing machines for farms, small towns, and workshops like the one I grew up in. Tools that solve real problems for real people. The crowd listened closely. No one moved. No one checked their phones. Eliza had that same quiet confidence she had as a child, only now it was stronger, sharper. I'm not special because I'm young. I'm not special because I went viral. I'm just someone who was taught to fix what's broken. And sometimes that's all it takes. As she stepped back, the audience stood in applause. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered her name. After the speech, Logan walked up to her backstage. "You were brilliant," he said. She smiled. "I learned from the best." He chuckled. "No, you always had it in you. I just made sure the world saw it." Back in her hometown, the garage stayed open. Her father still came by every morning, even if he didn't work much anymore. Kids from around town visited often, some just to say hello, others to learn from the girl who once fixed a millionaire's truck and grew into something far greater. Her story wasn't just about engines anymore. It was about belief, opportunity, and what happens when someone dares to see the spark in a child and chooses to light the way forward.